it seems like Washington, home to the city of Seattle, is kind of joining California in telling Uber and Lyft, enough is enough is enough.
Xbox, Twitter, Uber,
Postmates,
Netflix, MoviePass,
Lyft, Google,
Facebook, eBay,
DoorDash,
Apple, Amazon, Airbnb,
The Apptrepreneur. Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here and you happen to like this video, please do me a favor. Click that subscribe button and ring that bell notification for notifications of new videos. Even if you are subscribed, consider ringing it again. You might have been unsubscribed. Helps with the algorithm. We talk about the gig economy, Uber, Amazon, streaming wars, once in a while video games, all that jazz. So, and we upload on a near daily basis. Now, let's talk about politics in rideshare again, because this is a never-ending story and it's always an ugly topic. I support government regulation on rideshare. This is not a secret. I used to not support it, but the companies have gotten to the point where I fully believe in my heart that the only way to have any sort of improvement with them is, in fact, to regulate them. They're not going to change on their own. You can't make them change on their own. You just can't do it. So you have to have the government step in and basically do something about it. Now, I have not been a fan of what most governments have done. They have either raised taxes on the rideshare companies, or they have forced a minimum wage that on paper sounds great. In practice, that's a lot more difficult. Personally, I think you just need to write a very simple law. Uber and Lyft, or gig economies in general, cannot charge less minimum wage, and they cannot take more than 20% of the earnings. That's simple. That's all they need to do. And yet they always complicate things like Seattle is right now, because Seattle is raising fees for Uber and Lyft rides with a new tax, and they're passing a minimum wage law for drivers. This somehow takes two ideas that might, in theory, work on their own and combines them together to make one idea that might not work at all. So, and this just totally reeks of a city not concerned so much with drivers, although they are passing minimum wage, so, I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but this reeks of a city that says, hey, where's our cut? So let's look at this. This is from GeekWire. The Seattle City Council unanimously passed legislation Monday that will establish a minimum wage for Uber and Lyft drivers and raise per-ride taxes to pay for city programs. Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin introduced the pioneering Fair Share program in September as a way, and we have a notification to sign up for their newsletter. Sorry about that. Where was I? As a way to extend the city's worker protections to gig economy drivers. The program is the latest in a series of regulatory headaches for Uber and Lyft as regulators crack down on their labor practices. Quote, our Fair Share plan invests in first-in-the-nation protections for drivers, more housing near transit, and transit projects that will help keep Seattle moving, Durkin said in a statement Monday. It is the right thing to do, and I applaud the City Council for moving quickly to ensure that more drivers can afford to live near where they work, and everyone, regardless of income or ability level, has access to high-quality transit. I'm just going to say something right now. Not that I'm completely against this, of course. I have to make that absolutely clear. But Uber drivers don't have a designation where they work. They can work anywhere. In fact, when I did Uber and Lyft, I would always start at the house. I'd be at the house playing a game or something, turn on the app, wait 15 minutes, I'd get a ride. Keep in mind, it wasn't quite as common back then. I was there kind of on the ground up. So I don't know where they're coming from in that perspective. And of course, it almost feels in a good way. It feels insulting to Uber and Lyft. They're actually going to tax them to put money towards more transit projects. So basically, Uber and Lyft is going to be taxed for the privilege of funding public transportation that they have to compete with. That's actually pretty funny. Durkin plans to sign the legislation into law later this week. Fair Share introduces a new tax of 51 cents per Uber and Lyft ride to fund affordable housing construction and complete the city's be Ligard streetcar project. Seattle already charges 24 cents per Uber and Lyft ride to fund wheelchair-accessible taxis and cover the costs of regulating the industry. The new tax will bring the total fees to 75 cents per ride. It will apply to all rides that originate within Seattle city limits. Durkin estimates the tax will generate $133 million in new revenues by 2025. Now, I'm not going to oppose them making something for affordable housing, because here's the thing: Seattle's kind of become like an interesting city where affordable housing is kind of becoming a pipe dream, particularly because that's where Amazon and Microsoft and I think Facebook. No, Facebook's in Silicon Valley, but I know Amazon and Microsoft are there. And the problem when you have two major companies like that is that you have a select group of people at those companies who can afford very, very nice houses. And some of the lower level companies can probably afford to pay a little bit more than the average employee. And as a result, housing costs have skyrocketed there, like absolutely skyrocketed. They're almost like California house prices right now. And yet, not enough people make that kind of money, and so they're getting pushed into the streets, and there's a homelessness problem. So they basically, they've already gone after Microsoft, which Microsoft, by the way, gladly paid the tax. I don't think Microsoft fought them at all on this. They went after Amazon. Amazon's still fighting them on this, and now they're going after Uber and Lyft. So, I mean, and it's kind of funny because Uber and Lyft aren't located in Seattle, Washington, but hey, they're operating, so they're just kind of trying to get their cut of the pie. Let's continue this for a second. So, by the way, the editors make a note that the new fee is technically 57 cents, but 6 cents will be offset by lowering existing fees on ride-hailing services. Okay. Details on the minimum wage for drivers are still being hammered out. The city is commissioning an independent study to determine how to apply minimum wage standards for drivers who are currently categorized as independent contractors and largely responsible for their own expenses. The minimum wage will take effect July 1st, 2020. I kind of wonder if Uber and Lyft plan to spend another $90 million to fight this as well. The city plans to spend $56 million of the new revenue to complete construction of the Center City Connector streetcar, an overdue project costing tens of millions more than initially estimated, as is most projects that the government does. I introduced you my speed train bullet that California's been trying to get made, which I actually would like, but it's not really working out so well. So, more than $52 million will be invested in affordable housing projects. I lost my track. Housing projects that the city estimates will produce 500 new homes near transit. An additional $17.75 million will be used to create a driver resolution center, an organization that will arbitrate between ride-hailing companies and drivers who have been deactivated from the apps. Well, that actually is a very positive thing. That's probably the most positive thing I read in this whole thing. The new regulations will apply to ride-hailing companies that facilitate 1 million rides per quarter in the city. Only Uber and Lyft meet the criteria. Now, I'm going to pause for a second and mention how Uber and Lyft can get out of this. I don't think they want to do this, but they might do it just to avoid paying taxes. They might, at that, actually put like an artificial cap, like cut off the rides just before they reach 1 million per quarter so that they can keep effectively running and saying, well, we didn't get 1 million rides, so we're not paying anything. That's one of the downsides. Like every time you write legislation, there's always a loophole. And it takes so long to rewrite the legislation and repass the legislation that by the time you find a fix to that loophole, they have found a loophole to the loophole. So that's how government works. So, obviously, a Lyft spokesperson said she was disappointed by the council's decision, and an Uber spokesperson said, in May 2019, we began a series of conversations with Mayor Durkin's office, Lyft, and the Teamsters in good faith effort to reach a comprehensive agreement on rideshare policy in Seattle. The discussion included a new earnings standard and benefits requirements for rideshare drivers in Seattle. We consistently pointed out that any tax increase could reduce earning opportunities for drivers and impact the availability of convenient and reliable transportation. We also advocated that any revenue from an increased tax should benefit drivers, but unfortunately, the Teamsters continued to reject our proposals. Yeah, that's right. I did a story where Teamster basically said no more. They were tired of dealing with Uber and Lyft. The Teamster Local 117 is a union representing taxi drivers, truck drivers, and other workers. Uber and the Teamsters have been at odds for years over various issues, including Seattle law allowing drivers to Unionized. So yeah, and then there's like reviewing past events that we've talked about in other videos before. So anyway, this is both positive and negative. I do agree that the taxes should actually be more focused towards drivers. I'm okay with it going towards affordable housing. I don't know if it should be going to transit. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. That just reeks that Seattle wants money for their pet projects that are tens of millions of dollars over budget, and they can't afford to pay for them. So they're going to go after Uber and Lyft. They also have not really established how a minimum wage is going to be enacted with this bill, which seems kind of important that isn't in there, but whatever. But, it's kind of hard to feel sorry because probably one of the best things is that some of this money will be going to Driver Resolution Center. So if you have been unfairly deactivated by Uber or Lyft, you have somewhere to turn. And that's great. That is a lot more than we can say for most cities. So that is a very positive thing. It's been passed. It looks like it's signed. Again, it's going to be the real question is whether or not Uber and Lyft decide to actually fight this. I suspect they will, although I'm wondering how it's going to look to their shareholders because that will be 2 states where they are actively spending a lot of money to fight legislation. How can you run a business if at one point all 50 states will have a rideshare regulation that you're going to have to spend money to fight? I don't think it's possible. I don't think it is. But anyway, that's where we're going to end it right here because that's a topic for another day when it actually starts to happen. But what do you folks think? Do you agree with their decision? Do you disagree? I would love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, of course, but even as little as $1 a month goes a long way to helping the channel run smoothly and get access to my Patreon's exclusive blog. Also, if gas prices are getting just a little down, check out the Get Upside app below. It's totally free, but you get cash back on every gas purchase. And if you want more content from me, check out Kevin T. Rodriguez, the Autograph Hound, and Apptrepreneur vlogs. And if you want to talk to me or any other fellow rideshare drivers, check out the Apptrepreneur Hangouts on Facebook. And as always, blame responsibly. Have a good one.